guys. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Please raise your hand if you have questions. We'll prioritize the folks in the room, but we'll also try to take your opinion as well. Brian?
How much do you feel this is? It's good for this group to go through this type of game, must-win situation, or to experience the playoffs, the things that they really need to experience. How do you?
Yeah, I think really this group needs to experience every kind of situation. There's not a type of game that I think we have licked, any experience in pressured situations, experience with games you're supposed to win, games you're not supposed to win, playing from ahead, playing from behind, all those things. Our group still needs so many more reps at. Somebody here that works here the other day said that there are teams whose cores have been together longer than any of our players have even been in the league, or a bunch of our players have been in the league, and they've had their same 5, 6, 7 players together for that long. And so there's not a situation or experience or type of game that doesn't benefit this team, and certainly this qualifies as one that does.
Going off of that, the long season, the ups and downs here, going into a must-win game, or what has been your message to the team?
It's to focus on the controllables, the same as any other game. It's the must-win thing. I dipped into that a little bit earlier in the season, and it's not really what I believe in. I mean, I think if you take care of business, you take care of the things that you can control. It's really illusory to think that, even if you do everything right, that you're going to win. So, you want to make your goal to do the things that you can control really, really well. And then, you can live with whatever result happens after that. And so for us, it's about continuing to get more consistent, continuing to execute better and more consistently. The wins, they will come as a result of that, and this group has shown they're more than capable of beating anyone in the league. It's a matter of them being able to do it more consistently. And so that's been the message, outside of the 1 or 2 games where I pushed probably a philosophy that's not really in line with what I believe. Outside of that, that's been the message.
Hey, Coach. There was a very determined tone from back at Benaja at the post-practice presser this morning. Well, everyone knows what's at stake tonight, and the idea, like you just talked about what's a must win and what's not. How has the team's energy been leading into this game against the Mystics tonight?
I think that there's an understanding that the stakes of this game extend beyond playoff implications, the win-loss record at the end of the year. We had a really good, hard film session yesterday before we got on the court, and a lot of things were said, resolved, discussed that are, I think a lot of teams don't necessarily even air out or talk about. And I was really proud of the group for the way that they approached that and then approached the following practice and today. And I think that one of the reasons that they've continue to respond well all season is that they really do, trust one another. They trust the staff. And so the primary focus for them and the energy is not just we're doing this for now, but we're doing this because we're building something, and every single game matters, and the way that we play matters. And they all know that second half in Connecticut was not the way that we play, and that's not the way that we want to play in any game. And so I think that, it really speaks to their resolve and determination and resilience that they could take, a really deflating, frustrating loss and, a crazy head coach yelling and screaming at him about it, and really take that and turn it into something good. And I think that's what we're going to see tonight.
Thanks so much for that tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to expand upon that a little bit. Wednesday night when you spoke to us, you talked about the team not necessarily understanding what the New York, or what liberty means across the chest. And I guess I'm just curious, what did it take for them to maybe, I guess, realize that? Was that something that, was really important in them reaching that point in the film session? They were super locked in.
I think it's a confluence of all of the things that have gone on this season. And I think, it's easy in a situation like this to kind of lay down. That's not what New York is about as a state, and it's certainly not what we're about here as an organization. And so I think, they were there at the spot you're talking about, I think, coming into film. And then I think they reached kind of a second level of understanding of, and really an ownership of what's necessary for us to continue to take the steps that we need to take. And, part of that is all of us being open to feedback, being open to, hey, none of us is perfect. We're all learning on the job. We're all growing together, and really being open to teammates, staff, everyone. And this group has been tremendous at that pretty much all year, but there was a higher demand. And one of the things that we talked about was, look, if you've done it 99 times, that's great, but my job is to try to get you to do it 100. Right. And so the one time you don't do it, you're going to hear from me. And I would expect the same thing. And I do get that same level of accountability from Jonathan and, other people in the organization. And so, really the kind of pitch that it reached was really positive and constructive. It wasn't anything but that. Yeah.
Coach, thank you. And we're coming into a season finale where this is a year where you had two very talented rookies, and it's not in their nature, but it would have been easy for them to all fade into the background of sorts with so many big veteran acquisitions coming in, but instead they became major contributors on this team. How do you think of the way Nick and Didi responded to the challenges of this season, and how do you think they'll respond to playing in a must-win situation tonight?
I think they're gonna approach it the way that they've approached the whole season. They both interpret and deal with pressure differently. Mick almost doesn't even really internalize it. It's just like, oh, I'm going to play basketball today. This is fun, kind of regardless of the stakes. That's just kind of who she is. That's one of the things that I loved about her when I talked to her before we drafted her. With Didi, there's a kind of a determination and a self-belief that goes into her ability to rise, in pressure situations. If Didi gets 1 minute, you better believe something's going to happen when she's in the game, right? In that 1 minute, she's going to she's going to strip somebody. She's going to do something, take a charge, dive on the floor. And because of that, the stakes of the game don't matter for her because she's going to do the same things every single night, right? And that's she's going to take care of the controllables, her energy, her effort. And the places that they've both grown is Mick has done a really tremendous job working on her finishing. And one of her biggest issues at UCLA was that she's just so fast. She'd go flying at the rim and throw it off the backboard and she'd get wide open because she's so athletic and she wouldn't finish. And so we've had to rewire her to get to 2 feet more often. I think last game, you guys can probably remember the amount of time she got into somebody's body, created contact and finished off at 2 feet. I'm really proud of her because guys, that's hard. It's hard. You've been doing that your whole life. You pick up the ball at a certain time, you get to 2 steps and it's 1, 2, you go up, and she was getting blocked earlier in the season, things like that. So that's a hard thing to do. And she's done it, and she's done it consistently and really, really well this last few games. And for Didi, it's been her tendency to kind of beat up on herself. She's really hard on herself. She's got this really interesting mix of self-belief and self-deprecation, in moments of frustration. So for Didi, I think that the growth has been she's truly understanding and trying to grow in terms of the way that she talks to herself, and regards herself in moments of frustration or failure. And that was a big, talk with the team yesterday, that failure is kind of the middle level. I think a lot of people think of failure as the bottom. The bottom is not trying, right? Like you have to earn the right to have failed at something by trying. And then you jump up to the success after that. And so I think, something that I told the team that I'm proud of is that they're not afraid to continue to try. They're not afraid to continue to try in spite of not getting their way. And it's really easy to lay down in those situations. Didi and Michaela are two perfect examples of people who they don't understand laying down. Neither one of them does. And it's for different reasons, like I said, but neither one of them really feels that pressure, I don't think. And if they do, they certainly don't show it.
Appreciate your time and insight.
Thanks.
If you could provide a sort of self-evaluation of yourself, the way the season ended last year as compared to you coached a team that is now on the cusp of a playoff berth, depending on wins and losses, like a few wins and losses. Did you imagine yourself just in these last 2 years of your short career that you would be in this position? Like, did you ever imagine that you would be here so soon or so long, however you want to figure it out?
Yeah, I think I didn't really think of it that way. I think the way that I kind of approached it was, what do I need to do today? You know, like what do I need to do to get this team better? And I'm constantly similar to Didi, similar to Jazz. I'm hard on myself too, and so I'm looking at what did I do wrong? What did I not do enough of? What did I do too much of? So it's more, my energy is spent on focusing on the things that I can do rather than focusing on what might happen, right? What the outcome might be. And it's easy to fall back into that. And I've done that. I grew up very much in that mindset, and years of practice and work on, focusing on the process. And so from a self-evaluation perspective, I'm proud of the team. I'm proud of the culture here. I'm really proud of the respect this team has for the game and for each other and for the staff and the organization. And I think that, if there's a lot of things that our staff has done, and each person contributes in different ways. And I think, the thing that I would be most proud of in the 2 years is really the people, the quality of people that we have here, really top to bottom.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all for joining. Thanks everyone on Zoom. We're going to report it shortly.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.